Hi everyone, we're here at California Distilled Spirits with Ed Arnold, and we're talking about Darjeeling Gin as well as the rest of what he is making and hopes to soon put out to market.
Hello, welcome to my little distillery. Glad to have you here. I hope you're going to enjoy what we're going to taste today. We have a series of bourbons, whiskeys, and of course, my award-winning Darjeeling Gin. Enjoy. I got interested in distilling starting in the mid-'80s. There was RMS Distillery near Napa, and that was Remy Martin, the French cognac house, their first outside of France production.
Interesting.
And they've since subsequently closed, but they're open for about 20 years. And just really fell in love with the process. We were going there shortly after their opening, went over the years. And one of the things that really intrigued me was talking to their cellar master that he said they were able to produce the same or better quality brandy as they did in France in half the time. So if that VSOP cognac in France was 5 years old, they could do it in 2 years here in California. And the reason because our weather is ideal for aging. It doesn't get so cold during the winter. Don't have snow on the ground all year. And when you think about what aging is, you're talking about the expansion and contraction of the fluid and the wood moving in and out. So when it's freezing, then nothing's moving, it's just sitting there. Then we also have very strong temperature swings between night and day all year round. There's probably at least a 20-degree difference. So again, expansion, contraction.
So we're looking at these barrels. These are all these are all brandies.
No. So this would be bourbon, whiskey, rye, and then brandy as well. But more actually bourbon and whiskey than anything.
Really? That's really interesting.
Yeah, I did my first whiskey release at the end of the year, this last year, and it sold out right away. So I've got bourbon coming out. In fact, this is my bourbon right here. This is it's not a perfect label. I had to cut it out by hand from the proofs that came in. But my rolls will be in here anytime, and then I will be bottling that.
And how long have you aged for approximately?
So I've got 3 different bourbon barrels in it. The youngest one is right at a year, and I'm conservative in the cuts. So I'm not trying to milk the last quart of material at all.
Or redistill?
No, absolutely not.
Sure. Want to go check out the still?
Yeah. So if they were gone, you'd have an old-fashioned pot still, right? Like what they make Scotch with in Scotland. All right. So we have a 4-plate. These are bubble cap plate assemblies.
Bubble caps.
So a 4-plate and an 8-plate. Although this is stainless on the outside, all the internals are copper.
Sure.
And whereas that one is copper as well on the outside. I mean, copper's pretty. They used to always be copper because the only malleable, non-corrosive metal that was readily available. Once stainless came around, and it has some manufacturing and production qualities, it's stronger, it's easier to work with, and that sort of thing. But other than being pretty, the copper has one technical attribute in that if there are sulfides present in the vapor, as you might get from some funky wine or beer, then they will tend to adhere to the copper on the inside and thus be removed from the vapor stream. Now it doesn't happen when they're liquid, so there's no point in having a copper kettle. But in the vapor stream, the copper is beneficial.
Don't think a lot of people understand just where you start and what you get. Obviously, this whole the point of all of this is to condense.
Exactly.
Right?
I give the analogy of if you've got acres of alfalfa, you've got a cow, you get a T-bone.
Right. Right.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
It's kind of the same idea.
I'm hungry.
I enjoy history and going back and what people have done and what these flavors are. So, for example, on my bourbon, it has to be at least 51% bourbon on corn. Most of what you buy in the stores are around 70% corn. I'm at the minimum 52%.
Interesting. So what are you pushing?
I'm putting in then thus more barley and rye.
Oh, very cool.
All right, because you got more room for it.
Yeah.
And so it's bourbon whiskey. Well, I'm more on the whiskey end as opposed to the sweeter bourbon end. I mean, it is bourbon,
right,
but it's definitely the minimum corn sweetness in there, more spice, more robustness. So this one is 110 proof.
I want my nickname to be Whiskey Thief. Oh, look at that color. It's just golden. It's really honey on the nose.
Yeah, I'm pleased with the way these are turning out. So 110 proof, 55% corn, 30% barley, 18% rye.
that barley is really, really prevalent.
And then when we go to the next one, it's still 50%, 2% corn, but then 24 each rye and barley. And you'll notice that just that change in the rye, all of a sudden it becomes way more noticeable. So that one is 14 months old.
It's not as, it's still fruity, and it still is, so that like light, almost IPA spice.
Okay, I hear you.
Beer, you know, that beer taste.
Yeah, a little hint of that in there, I agree. And then that one,
Color's looking a little,
should be virtually identical. Yeah, they're just 2 months apart.
I'm sorry, this one's
2 months younger.
2 months younger.
And it's and with the more rye, so it's come off spicier.
You know, it's noticeable that the honey from the barley just isn't popping quite yet with the
second one.
Yeah,
exactly.
the
Yeah,
aging.
Yeah, the
just 2
rye
months.
really become at that. There's some point in there going from, like I say, 18 to 24%, and with the barley dropping commensurately, that the rye takes over.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that's right out of the spigot.
That is white.
Yeah.
That is. That's great.
What's coming out right now was actually 140 proof of that. Yeah, approximately. That's probably pretty close. And this is temperature dependent. That's not a certified hydrometer. That's just for
I mean, that's for sure
approximation.
hot, but it's maybe my esophagus is well scarred from all the drinking that I've done, but it is not as sharp as it's
No, absolutely not.
The new laws must be very helpful with being able to sell a lot of it.
Oh yeah. Okay, that changed in 2016.
Right.
So I was only production prior to that. I mean, that's why there's no signs or anything, and I'm tucked away in the industrial complex because it has to be zoned industrial. So there's only so many places you can do it. Now, fortunately, so when the law changed and I built some bars and throw the door open to have people come in, well, we've had the second brewery open in the meantime. Moonraker, Knee Deep was already here. And then Moonraker has won these awards, and Knee Deep is hugely popular. So we get a lot of traffic, people looking on a weekend. And so I put out my signs, and we have our little district here all of a sudden.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
So that's my best marketing. You know, people come in, they say, oh, I just saw the sign, didn't know you were here. You know, I hear that all the time. And now they get to try some gin, which they probably wouldn't ordinarily do so.
Right.
So yeah, it's a very satisfying experience, and to have people say, oh, they're very skeptical, and they taste, and oh, well, this really isn't that bad after all, and then they end up buying a bottle, or having a cocktail, and we've made another convert.
Yeah. You know, I got to tell you, those are my prized experiences as well over my years behind the bar. Being able to reintroduce a spirit category, because as many as there are for gin, there are just as many with tequila. There are just as many with bourbon.
Yes, all these stories out there. Yes.
And I have to explain to people there's a huge difference between drinking and drunking.
Yep.
And when we're young, our goal is drunking. And it's no holds barred, you know, it's how shitty can we get as fast
What
as
is the
possible.
goal here? Yes.
Right, which is such a silly concept, and we can go into
not unusual,
societal
though. Yeah.
aspects with that, but being able to appreciate juice that's in a bottle for what that is, the side effects being something else as well, but you know, just that, the flavor components, the complexity, the care that goes into the distilling is something that I hope is growing. I see that it's growing, but I'm very jaded. This is my world. This is what I do.
We're only all seeing just our little narrow slice of it.
Right.
And certainly these people are self-selected if they've come in.
Absolutely.
You know, to the distillery. But yes, that's the motto. As we get older, you drink less, but drink better.
Right. Yeah.
Right. You know, so yeah, spend the same amount of money, but just go for the better. Artistically, gin is really beautiful to make because once you have the mandatory juniper in it, then you can add whatever you want botanically and produce a flavor profile that is unique to you if you so desire. So, you know, there's gin with 2 botanicals, there's some with 40, you know, mine has 9, with the key component being the Darjeeling tea. When I was doing flavor combinations, trying to see, okay, what's going to pair off nicely with the mandatory juniper, I stumbled on the tea as something that really worked well. It softened it, it rounded it. I kind of equate it to adding a bass note to the sharp treble of the juniper. And it's an incredibly complex flavor. It's earthy, it's floral.
Yeah.
It really worked beautifully with it. So I settled on that as the...
Was this like a late night epiphany of having...
I don't know what time of day, but yeah, it was at home because that's where I got my various things, and
Sure.
Just said, okay, this will work, and then adding the other 7 botanicals in to kind of showcase that, and it worked very well. I'm fortunate, people liked it, won some awards, got some good press, and was able then to get out in stores, which is difficult for a small producer.
Yeah.
So now it's statewide. I'm in Total Wines, Whole Foods, and Nuggets.
Yeah, I see Kraft did a little little piece on you. Corey is fantastic. She does a great job.
I blush at reading that little article. I would never have written anything so laudatory.
So that's great. So winning awards, and do you mind listing off your botanicals? They're all in it? Or?
Yes, I do mind.
You do mind? Okay.
I give you the 2.
Sure.
Okay. And then I will play the game with you. You can taste it and tell me what you taste, and I will tell you if you're right or wrong.
Oh,
I've had people get up to 6 or 7 of the 9.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well,
But no one's gotten all of them.
Does somebody win an award when they get all of them, other than just being?
Yeah. Strong self-satisfaction, esteem from the crowd.
It's usually what I give people as well.
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
at most.
That's wonderful. So how long have you been making Darjeeling?
4 years now.
4 years. Wow, that's really exciting. And when you're looking at, I guess maybe your own learning curve, did you have, let's say, a year of R&D before you released? Or
Months.
Months.
It was months.
Yeah.
Because so much of it is equipment dependent.
Right.
You can produce percentages of ingredients that say, okay, this works well, with a very small batch. But when you scale, it's not linear. Right. Some of the functions are linear, some are squared, some are cubic. So it's very complex as far as how, and so ultimately trial and error became the only way that I could master it.
Yeah.
So it took several months of trial runs to get it nailed down as to be completely repeatable.
Sure.
Which of course is the key.
Right.
Particularly doing it in the dry method. This is, as a lot of gins these days are made by soaking or macerating or blending or infusing one way or another to get the flavor in. But I'm doing it in the old dry method where the tea leaves, the juniper berries, the other 7 botanicals are housed whole in the wide part of the copper bell. So the hot vapor comes up through them to extract the oils, which is in where the flavor comes from. So the oils are extracted cleanly and neatly that way, which is why the flavor is so long and nuanced. But it's very delicate. You only get one pass at it. Environmental variables, temperature, humidity, how fresh are the botanicals, all of this. So to get it completely consistent is the trick.
So you're doing a full basket vapor, or like with all your botanicals in, or are you doing individual?
No, all are one. Well, they're individually bagged.
Sure.
But then they're all up there on their platform. I've got a perforated copper platform. For the vapor to come up through.
That's really neat. Distillation is so fascinating to me, especially every different type of still that people use, and how many plates they're using, and they're rectifying what sort of plates that they're using.
Oh yeah, there's so many ways to do it.
Again,
that's why I say it's equipment dependent to a large extent. I mean, the principles are dirt simple, right?
Sure.
Ethanol boils off at a lower temperature than water.
Right.
But then after that, it's the niceties.
Yeah.
The details.
Do you have where essentially are you keeping your temps? Because I know some people like to distill a little bit higher, a little bit lower.
Oh, okay. I'd be in I would say the low medium. I mean, I'm collecting from about 185 to 200.
Yeah. And did you find in your sort of like your R&D that if you pushed or if you held off a little bit too much that you were getting off notes?
Yeah, absolutely. Temperature is really the single biggest variable here that I can control.
Sure.
So it wants to be at a specific point. And doing the gin is different, say, than doing the brandy or whiskey, where there's a lot more continuity throughout the run with those. With the gin, though, because the botanicals are different from one another, you're going to get a completely different flavor at different stages of the run.
Sure.
So, you know, as opposed to the whiskey, where as you're tasting it coming out, it's you know, you can get an idea of what it is, but you really could not doing it the gin that way. You have to get it mixed together.
Right.
So, yes, you cannot push it too far. It will start getting off quickly. You can't collect too early. You get some very sharp notes, and you don't really want those. So,
how steep are your heads and your tails? I mean, I guess that's sort of.
I do a hard cut. I mean, bang! It's just when it's done, it's done. Yeah.
As soon as you start seeing it come out, and just cut it.
Yeah. I'm not trying to save things.
Right.
I mean, my heads I use for cleaning.
Sure.
You know, they're nice aromatic methanol, a very nice household cleaner.
Yeah.
The tails, I just get rid of them. I'm not trying to backset or anything like that.
Yeah.
The Collins basically just an adult lemonade. It's not a true Collins, no Maraschino or anything. 4 parts gin, 2 parts fresh squeezed lemon. Have to use a tart lemon, right? You don't want to use a Myers, have to be Eureka or something. And 1 part simple syrup, and then top with sparkling mineral water. And so this is universal. Everyone likes this.
Pre-batching.
Yep. The secret.
Big fan of the pre-batch.
Yeah, when it's like, because it works well to have it. You know, there's a high enough alcohol, it's not going to go bad.
Right.
And I don't have time to sit here and squeeze lemons when I've got people in here. So there you go. But I do make the martinis in these.
Darjeeling Collins. Oh yes, sir. That is the real way.
Yeah, that's
The tea really pops in the botanicals of this.
it's amazing, isn't it? Even with
Yeah.
the mixing, you can still ascertain. That's why I like it.
You got to tell me,
Yeah.
how did you have to have a crash course in cocktails when you started making gin, or were you already a fan?
I like gin cocktails anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm not a mixologist by any means. These are all just things that I've had exposure to, and plug my gin in and see if I like them. And yeah, for the I've tried to split the middle ground here in that it's sufficiently floral and interesting that you can sip it, yet there's sufficiently ginness to it that you can use it in a standard gin cocktail. With the big caveat of tonic, of course, where to my taste, most tonics kind of overpower it.
Yeah.
So we're going to play the game here.
Yeah.
I'm often asked, what are the 9 botanicals in the gin? And I tell everyone, well, I won't give you a list. I haven't even told my kids. But you get 2, you're spotted 2. Darjeeling, of the tea, of course, it's on the label.
Sure.
And of course, the juniper has to be there. So, so you're given 2 of the 9. Now you can taste and you can tell me what you think's in there, and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. No pressure.
From you.
Well,
My credibility goes right out the window once I get this wrong. There we go.
again, editing's our friend.
Yeah, I gotta love editing. All right, citrus off the top.
Yes.
We'll break that down a little bit, but I'm also getting a base note of spice, so cooking spice of sorts. So I'm gonna go with like clove or cinnamon.
No.
Like I'm trying to be general here, and you're already shooting me down. All right, here we go. I want to say lemon.
Yes, lemon peel. Very good.
Can't tell if it's a juniper or if there's like a little bit of anise in there.
There is no anise,
No anise.
but there is something that does put off at times a licorice feel to it.
It's not fennel.
No.
No, okay. something bitter as well. I want to say like a cardamom.
There is cardamom. Very good.
Cardamom. Is that the like pseudo anise?
No,
No,
not that.
Okay, all right. So we still got one that we can like work with here.
And there's a couple that are kind of obvious. If once you hear it, you'll go, oh, of course that's in there.
It's like people saying like, "Oh, that test was so easy. I wrote it."
So I'll give you a hint. There is something that's a little peppery, and the botanical actually has pepper in its name, but it's not pepper.
Peppermint.
Very good.
Just lobbed that one up for me. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Tee one up for you, absolutely.
There's for sure some sort of cooking spice in there that I can't.
You've already gotten the cardamom,
Yeah.
and I think that's the only one that I would.
Push into that
Yeah.
realm.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we have lemon, cardamom, and
The tea and the
tea,
juniper.
peppermint, juniper. So we got 5. I'm gonna tap out at 5.
I think you said peppermint twice.
Oh, peppermint, cardamom, lemon, juniper, tea.
That is 5. Very good. You got 5. That's good.
Well, it's your job to come up here. Make sure you taste this. See what you can get.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Take care, guys.
Thank you so much.